Welcome to UK Voices 22. The lights of the Graham Norton show had barely settled when the audience witnessed what can only be described as one of the most awkward confrontations in recent television history. Meghan Markle, long accused of manipulating narratives to cast herself as both victim and heroine, walked onto the stage expecting applause. Instead, she was met with a cold, piercing stare from Dame Helen Mirren, a woman who embodies the very poise, dignity, and strength Meghan has often tried, but failed, to imitate. What happened next stunned viewers. Helen, with her characteristic wit and unshakable composure, made a comment so sharp and so precise that it stripped away Meghan's carefully curated mask in seconds, leaving the Duchess visibly rattled. The exchange wasn't just entertainment, it was exposure. Exposure of hypocrisy, exposure of arrogance, and exposure of the deep cracks in Meghan's public persona. And the real question is, why would a legend like Helen Mirren choose this moment to cut straight through Meghan's carefully built façade? The audience sat on edge. Graham Norton, usually the jester of late-night British television, smirked knowingly, almost as if he too had been waiting for someone to call out what so many in Britain whisper about Meghan, but are too polite to say out loud. And as the cameras rolled, Meghan's forced smile grew tighter, her eyes darting nervously, her confidence slipping away. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't rumor. This was a live unraveling, witnessed by millions, and orchestrated by a woman whose voice carries the weight of truth. But what exactly did Helen say that left Meghan speechless? To understand the magnitude of the moment, you need to remember Meghan's strategy. For years, she's relied on carefully controlled interviews, sympathetic platforms, and curated soundbites that allow her to rewrite history. Oprah's Garden interview painted her as a trapped princess. Netflix documentaries portrayed her as a misunderstood victim. Even Harry's memoir became less about royal duty and more about painting Meghan as a savior. But on the Graham Norton show, she wasn't in control. She wasn't holding the pen. She wasn't editing the narrative. She was in a room with Helen Mirren, someone who doesn't play along with illusions. The conversation began light, with Norton joking about royal family anecdotes. Meghan tried to interject, flashing the polished grin that's become her armor. But Helen's subtle body language spoke volumes. She leaned back, arms folded, refusing to grant Meghan the validation she craved. Then came the line, the one that sent shockwaves across social media. Helen, after Meghan attempted to compare her life as a duchess to the struggles of women in history, interrupted with a calm, but loaded remark, with respect, authenticity can't be manufactured. The crown is not a costume. That sentence cut through the studio air like a blade. The audience gasped. Graham Norton chuckled nervously, sensing the weight of the moment. Meghan froze. That frozen smile, the one she uses whenever she's cornered, stretched awkwardly across her face. She knew what Helen meant. Everyone did. Helen wasn't just talking about roles and acting. She was addressing Meghan's entire existence since stepping into royal life, the relentless performance, the obsession with image, the playing of Duchess, as though it were merely another Hollywood role. The tension grew thicker. Meghan tried to pivot, attempting to regain control of the narrative with a story about finding her voice. But Helen's words had already landed. Online, viewers immediately latched onto the moment, flooding Twitter and YouTube with clips, reactions, and breakdowns. Headlines screamed about Meghan being exposed and humiliated, while fans of the monarchy praised Helen for finally saying what so many had wanted to shout for years. The open loop was now burning in every viewer's mind. Would Meghan recover? Or would this be the night her carefully constructed image collapsed in front of millions? By the end of the show, the balance of power was undeniable. Meghan, once eager to dominate the spotlight, was reduced to nodding and shrinking in her seat, her usual talking points sounding hollow in comparison to Helen's effortless authority. When the cameras panned across the set, the audience's body language spoke volumes. Laughter and applause leaned toward Helen and Norton, while Meghan's attempts at jokes landed flat. The exposure was complete. Meghan was not the dignified royal she pretends to be, but a fragile performer caught off script. The final blow came not in words, but in silence. As Graham thanked his guests, Helen received the loudest applause of the night. Meghan clapped too, but it only highlighted her discomfort, an actress applauding the woman who had just dismantled her façade. Online, the clip spread like wildfire. For many, it wasn't just television, it was vindication. For years, Meghan had positioned herself as untouchable, always in control of her image, always one step ahead of critics. But here, live on air, she was outplayed, outclassed, and most importantly, exposed. The promise made by the title, Meghan Markle exposed by Dame Helen Mirren in front of Graham Norton, was fully delivered. Not by scandal or gossip, but by the sharp truth of authenticity standing against manufactured performance. Helen didn't humiliate Meghan with cruelty, she exposed her with honesty. And in that exposure, Meghan's greatest fear came true. The mask slipped, and the world saw what lies beneath.